Hey, lovelies. Welcome to all the girls out there. As always, it is a blessing to have you guys here with me. So today we're doing something a little bit different. I've actually got my first guest on after how long I've been procrastinating, and I've honestly been so scared. But Alhamdulillah, we did it. And it's actually someone really special. So she is a student at the University of Manchester. Not only that, she's a well-being ambassador and a young staff trainer at mine, and also a young staff trainer at Become. And if I keep going on, I feel like I'm just going to be here for years. But just most importantly, she's someone that I definitely look up to. And that person is Laiba Waseem. Woo! Give yourself like a round of applause, Laiba, for everything you've achieved.
Hello. Hello.
You're supposed to clap for yourself.
Okay. I'm clapping.
Oh, bless your heart. I feel like there's just so many things to touch upon because I know you from secondary school, but I don't know like your full story from before that and where you've come from, like your journey in terms of everything. But I've kind of also grown with you and seen how you've grown from when we was in secondary school and then to see the things that you've achieved. And I look at you all the time and I'm like, wow, like she's actually doing so much. Allahumma barik. I remember even being in when you left, I think, and I was still in year 11 and I was like, how is she doing all of this already? It was so cool. And I honestly admired all of that. But I just wanted you to talk a little bit about your story in terms of like how you've grown and where you started. So like how the Library today formed, kind of starting from, I guess, primary schoolish times, if you could just touch up on that story.
Firstly, thank you so much for having me here. Like, it's a privilege, of course, and I feel like what you're doing is gonna be far more amazing than anything like I have ever done. Like, you are making like actual steps to inspire young women, which is it's amazing to see how far you've come as well from secondary school. And your question, like, how I have become who I am today. Yeah, it is a story. It is a story, and it is my story to share. So I'm glad you've asked me to come and share this, like from my own voice and stuff, because we should all be narrators of our own story and stuff. I grew up in a family that I wouldn't really class as functional. They were all dysfunctional people, adults mainly dysfunctional, and I don't think I don't think they ever knew how to raise children and whatever. I feel like they were going through issues of their own and stuff. So in primary school, I feel like I was quiet. I was very like, I had social anxiety. Um, I was navigating two personalities. So I was like trying to like navigate, trying to be like popular, trying to like make sure I did well in my studies, whilst also battling like at home the fact that my parents were arguing every day, the fact that we had like financial issues, the fact that I was watching domestic violence and stuff. Like I was trying to navigate that as well. But my primary school picked up on it, but just not enough to protect me. Which fair enough. I guess at that time people weren't as trauma aware as they are now and stuff. But yeah, in 2016, my parents divorced, and I think that day was a blessing in itself, and stuff, because that day also my abuse stopped because I was being abused at home and stuff. So yeah, a lot of things came to an end that day. But what ended up happening is when I came to secondary school, the impact of all of that came out through my behavior. So if you can remember, I was quite a naughty child. Like I was very much like, let's swear at all the teachers, let's be rude, let's just bunk lessons. I don't care about anyone. I don't get why people care about me. And stuff. So I was very naughty. I got excluded a couple of times and stuff. But I had a few teachers in secondary school that really looked out for me, like the behavior team, the drama department, the school counselor. A lot of people were looking out for me and stuff, and they knew that my behavior was just a reflection of everything that I had been through, and it wasn't just me. Like it wasn't that I was just born naughty. And because of that, they continued trying to work hard in making sure that I don't give up on my education. And eventually in year 10, I had like awakening. I was just like, hang on a second. I don't want to become a statistic. I can become naughty. I can get permanently kicked out. But then what? Then I'm just going to become a number of girls who went through a very bad childhood and didn't do anything with their life. I don't want to be a number. I want to be an inspiration to my younger sister, to all the girls out there who've been through things that I've been through and feel like giving up. Like, do not give up, because life is going to become beautiful one day. And that hope that my life might become beautiful one day kept me going. So in year 10, I had an awakening and I was like, I need to become good again. So I started behaving well. I started going to lessons, managed to do good in my GCSEs, went to sixth form, did my A levels. Sixth form was a very turbulent time as well. It was a lot. It was very hectic, but I had a very, very amazing sixth form. One of the best sixth forms I think in Newham. Like it's an amazing sixth form. Genuinely, bottom of my heart, I don't think I would be the person I am today without that sixth form and stuff. And they just pushed me through. During sixth form, I was trying to battle whether or not I move out for uni because I was a young carer. I was trying to look after my siblings, my mum. And I didn't know if I could move out for uni. I didn't think I deserved to. I didn't think that it was right for me to move out. But in the end, when I decided to move out, I don't know if it's the right decision I made. All I knew it was the right decision for me because I needed to start living my life because I hadn't lived my life at that point. I was surviving. I was going through a lot with my mental health. I was in therapy for the last 6 years at that point. It was a lot. I decided after my A-levels that I was going to go to University of Manchester if I got the grades. I did get the grades and I'm at University of Manchester studying my dream course. So in conclusion, I feel like the person I've become today stems from a childhood full of trauma, adversity, having to become an adult at 5 years old when no one should ever have to be an adult as a child, having to navigate being two different people, being someone at home and someone at school and having to put up a front, and then also trying to become the protector for your family, but who's protecting you. That sort of navigation within my head and like the way I was made me become the person I am today because my priority in the end became you need to start living your life so that you can become a name for yourself and so you can have a name for yourself and stuff. So yeah, that's what led to me becoming the person I am today. But also I couldn't have done it without my sixth form and secondary school.
I actually love that because it's so funny. I'm kind of on a similar journey right now where I feel like I'm trying to navigate being myself and being as true to myself as I possibly can. Because I feel like it's such a common thing with, especially oldest daughters, like being an oldest daughter, you feel like you have this responsibility for everyone around you. And so I feel like I've lived my whole life being Little Miss Perfect and trying to do everything that everyone around me thinks is the right correct thing or like the correct path. And so this year I've gradually like tried to start taking steps that is like, no, is this what I want, not what everyone else is telling me to do, what do I think is right. But there's a lot of guilt that comes with that. There's a lot of like built up feeling that makes you feel like, am I doing the wrong things? What advice would you give to girls who are accustomed to, I guess, listening to what everyone else's advice and living for other people, but want to start living for themselves and making decisions for themselves?
That's such an important question. I can definitely relate to that because for my whole life, I feel like I was living for other people. I feel like I was trying to do everyone else's narrative. You know what? To an extent, even my schools expected that from me. They wanted me to move out. They wanted me to go to sixth form. They wanted me to do everything, but no one really asked me, Laiba, what do you want to do? So I feel like within even school, I had to do that. But you know what? In the end, what you need to remember is those voices, they're not your voice. At the end of the day, the only voice that matters is your own voice because you have to live this life. No one else is going to live it for you. And at the end of the day, right, you don't always know if the decision you're making is the right decision, but the beauty of life is you can take risks. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out and you can start trying again. Because we've all made decisions that didn't work out for us based on what other people said to us. And then it doesn't work and then we just try again. But always remember that at the end of the day, the biggest priority in life is yourself. And because you always have to remember, no one's going to pay your bills for you. No one's going to drive your car for you. Ain't no one going to pay your mortgage. You have to do all that yourself. So what is the point of listening to those voices? Some voices are voices that are looking out for you. Some voices aren't. And you need to differentiate between that. Just remember that you're the most important person in your own story. At the end of the day, you're going to have to finish writing your story, not those people. So would you rather write your ending your way or what other people's way and stuff? And I realized I wanted to write my own ending. Like, I'm not going to write my ending in. She was permanently excluded, managed to get no job, stayed at home watching Netflix all day. That's fun for some people, not for me. That's not who I am. I'm a hardworking person. I like to write. I want my story to end with she's a forensic psychologist, married to the love of her life, living in her dream house with her dream cars and stuff. That's how I want to end my story, and stuff. But yeah, if that makes sense.
So beautiful. So how did the obviously right now you're into a lot of mental health advocacy and a lot of projects, and you've worked alongside a lot of let's say charities and organizations. So how did that come about? Talk a bit about that story so we can have an insight on it.
Yeah, sure. So in December 2018, I was hospitalized because I found out really bad news at school, and I ended up trying to like end my life and stuff. So I went to hospital, and I was in hospital, right? And I was just chilling. Yeah, I was just trying to think about my life, feeling sorry for myself. To be very honest, I was just like, why is my life this bad? Why can't it be nice? And then like a moment, something hit me. Something hit me with, this is not who you are, like, but you're not supposed to be in this hospital bed. You are very outspoken, you're very outrageous, you're courageous, you can't be in this bed right now. And then from that day I realized that all the services that let me down and hurt me, one day I'm going to be working with all those services. And I'm proud to say I have worked with all those services that let me down, and stuff. Like, I'm going to be working with those services to make a difference in how they work, and stuff. And I think from that day, I realized I wanted to become a mental health advocate. Like, I wanted to use my story to make a difference, because what I realized is all that pain and trauma that I'd been through as a child, no one's going to be able to take that away from me. But what I can do for myself is use it to make a difference, because that's all you can do with hurt and pain. You can only use it to make a difference. You can't let it consume you. I wasn't going to let it consume me. So from 2018 till now, I've been working with loads and loads and loads of different services to make a difference, to do some advocacy work within them and stuff. So yeah, that's how it literally all began, from a hospital bed, traumatized, with like my mental health on its brink. I realized that this isn't my story, and I changed it, and I'm an advocate and stuff.
So what was one of the biggest lessons that you've learned from working with the services?
I learned that no service is perfect. I learned that when we start cussing out services, we don't realize how much that service is going through. And so in terms of funding, we don't realize that the service is always accountable to another service, to another boss, and most of the time it's those people that should be held responsible, not necessarily the people that are on front line. So for example, I blamed social services for a very long time for everything bad that ever happened to me, and I blamed social workers. Like, I was like, this is your fault, social workers, this is, you're responsible for it. But when I started working with them, I was like, hang on a second, it's the people there that in charge of them that are the actual problem, not these people. We just get given the product of a bad service to us, but the person who caused the bad service, we don't ever get to see them, we don't ever get to meet them and stuff. So I just learned that, like, there's a lot of deep rooted issues within services, and sometimes it's not the people we blame who are at fault. In conclusion, it's actually the government, but that's like a long story for another day. But yeah, that's what I learned. Actually, I learned as well that, like, services do want to help young people, they do want to do everything. It's just funding, it's just they're not funded enough for it.
Feel like that's something that's also very common, even with things like, for example, let's say like the hospital, NHS, or whenever you're calling people, whenever we deal with these people on the front line, you always kind of say like, oh, they're useless, they're this, they're that. But then behind the scenes, more time they're actually been told to say or do them things, or the way that they've been trained up is to act in that way. And it's not really their fault, but there's like motives put in place in terms of the training that they've had or the policies in the places that they work, hence why we don't necessarily get the treatment that we think is right. It's similar with even schools as well. You find that a lot of teachers don't really want to be treating students, or I guess punishing students in certain ways, but it's like that's just the rules of the school, and there's not much that they can do about it because they're not in these places of authority, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And yeah, it's something that's really, it's sad, but I guess God willing, we get to escalate to these places and hopefully make a change in the system, inshallah. Would you say that there was ever a point in your life where you felt like, I know you've mentioned a couple of moments before, but you really felt like you was just misaligned with yourself? And what is it that actually pushed you to get out of that phase? And what were the steps you took?
I think that like like you said, I was very misaligned with myself, and I feel like um when I realized that like when I realized that my behavior wasn't really aligning with who I actually was, but really it was kind of like a facade. It was kind of like my anger, my misbehavior, my naughtiness was all a reflection of everything as a child that like everything as a child that I felt. I was just taking it out as a teenager and stuff. And when I realized that, I was like, I can't be this, I can't do this, I can't do this to myself. I just thought about my 9-year-old self. I just thought about what would 9-year-old Laiba tell me now. And 9-year-old Laiba would be like, Laiba, do not give up on your dreams because of the bad stuff that has happened to you and stuff. And you know what? In everything, right, the biggest motivator to me becoming the person I am today and changing my story and changing who I was and the misaligning with myself was that I wanted to make my younger self proud of me. I felt sorry for her. I kind of was like, she's been through a lot. I don't want her to go through a lot now as well. I wanted to heal that inner child in me. And I realized the only way I can heal that inner child in me is if I start becoming the true reflection of who she is. And she wasn't a bad person. She was just going through a lot. And when people go through a lot, they take it out in loads of different ways. And that's all I was doing and stuff. And there were some people at school that understood that and really, really helped bring out the true person in me. And there were some people who didn't get it and stuff. And the people that didn't get it, they were obviously senior management, right? And the people that did get it was just ordinary but amazing class teachers, like the drama department, like who really saw that. And they were the ones that pushed my true self to come out. And it worked because the more people believed in me, the more people said to me, like, but this isn't you. We know who you really are. We love you regardless of everything you are trying to do. I was like, yeah, they get it. If they get it, then I should get it. And I got it.
You know, it's funny how you touched up on, you see, there's people who understand and people who don't understand. But for those who don't understand or will be willing to learn to understand, what advice would you give them? What do you recommend it is that they do when they come across people who are going through things like this? Because I feel like sometimes it can be difficult and you don't really know how to deal with people who are, I guess, going through trauma or are trying to heal.
So really, I think it comes down to training. They need training. That's the truth. They need to be learned. They need to be made more trauma aware. So part of the work I do today is about being trauma informed, helping people become more trauma informed. And part of that is recognizing the non-verbal signs of trauma and stuff. And all these people that don't get it, they need to be trauma informed. They need to be trauma aware, and they're not. Unfortunately, not everyone's trained on it, and schools should be trained on it and stuff. And I also think that I think sometimes, right, what I've learned from all the work I do, which I think, like you said before, is what have I learned from all the work I've done. From what I learned is that some people, because they're not trained on it, they're too scared to have these conversations. Like, one part of my job as a young staff trainer was that how do we make people who are scared to have the uncomfortable conversations, such as about race, trauma, like adversity, how do we make them become more comfortable? And I think it comes down to the fact that the people that don't get it tend to be the people that are too scared to have those conversations because it makes them uncomfortable and stuff. But what they need to realize is that being uncomfortable when you're in a senior position isn't really enough. It's not enough. Or being uncomfortable when you're working around people, around other people, is just not enough. You need to like understand that those uncomfortable conversations are people's stories and stuff, and they need to be trained, and they need to have a lot of training done for them to become more trauma aware and mental health aware and stuff. And I just think that maybe we need to have more like peer support dynamics and stuff. And we need to have more like lived experience training. So like people like myself who have been through it, training other people, that tends to be the most powerful tool of advocacy.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. I feel like there's a lack of train, especially in schools. I feel like in schools it's really important, and I don't think it's looked upon in, like you said, in senior leadership specifically. I feel like also there's always this power feud, I guess, between like teacher and student, and especially for people who are in senior leadership positions, they don't try and bring themselves down to the level of the student and try and think level headed and think, okay, maybe there's a reason that they're behaving like this. Everything is a personal attack on them. And so they feel the need to like show their authority or enforce their authority on the kids. And again, like that has impact. And I think if you're not careful, it can make the kid potentially worse in their mental health. And that again is going to have issues in the future. But what about mental health in the workplace? Have you covered mental health in the workplace? What is it like? Because I could imagine there's a lot of work environments that are so toxic, and I feel like when you're an adult, maybe it's not focused on a lot.
Yeah, mental health in the workplace is a real thing, and I've covered that as part of my work. When I worked in like quality assurance, is that like, for example, during COVID, when people were doing more Zoom meetings, which now people still do, counselors and psychologists, they were having one meeting after another, which obviously you can imagine, right? That one of the clients was probably going to deal with the brunt of tiredness, frustration, Zoom fatigue. They were going to deal with the brunt of it. So what we implemented, what we've asked people to do when they have Zoom meetings, is they need to have at least an hour's break in between meetings, because genuinely someone will deal with the brunt of your tiredness, and which is not fair and stuff. And mental health in the workplace is a real thing, because you have some like toxic work environments where they frustrate you so much, they drive you to the point of like frustration is that you just take it out on the students and stuff. I know my like, I don't know about secondary school, but I know my sixth form, I think it was a lovely work environment, to be honest with you. Like, I didn't work there, but even as a student, you could tell how much the staff loved each other and stuff. And because I went to a Catholic school, I think they use Catholic faith heavily within their work and stuff. And obviously, with all religion teaches you peace and stuff. And you could really see that in reflection in my sixth form. But I just feel like, during my actual work thing that I've done, we did cover it quite a bit. Like, we talked about like making sure that if you ever feel like uncomfortable or like upset or something is draining you, that you do talk about it, and encouraging people to talk and speak out. Like, I had like monthly supervision with my line manager when I worked as a staff trainer, and that really helped and stuff.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely something not talked about. I feel like it's something that's so common. In my sixth form, it's funny because I had a complete opposite experience. I actually wanted to go to your sixth form, but then I don't know, I ended up going to the one I went to, and you could see the dynamic amongst staff was absolutely horrendous. It was so toxic. And even I had a teacher who literally left because there were so many teachers who were always leaving anyway. But there was a teacher that I was close to that left because of how toxic the environment was. And I just feel like it's sad that it's so common. That shouldn't be the case for people, and it's something that I think definitely needs to be worked on, and something that we should definitely advocate for. But I just wanted to ask you, in terms of, you said you kind of grew up in a household, I guess, that was toxic and probably wasn't the best for, well, not even probably, definitely wasn't the best for your mental health. And for girls who are in that position where they're kind of growing up in a toxic household, but they want to heal, a lot of people say that it's hard to heal when you're in the same household. But obviously, for some people, they can't easily leave. So what advice would you give to the girls that are in that position, who kind of want to heal and improve themselves, but are stuck in that predicament?
I can imagine how tough that is, because like, the truth is, right, even with my own like life story, is that even after my parents divorced, the trauma didn't really end, because one trauma got replaced for another level of trauma and stuff. And so I did, and to be fair, even to, I think to this day, when I'm back home in London, I can feel the brunt of trauma all over again and stuff. But what I realized is, this is how I deal with it. Honestly, this is literally how I deal with it, right? When I moved away to uni, that's when I realized what living was. When I was in London, I was surviving. Up until the day I left, I was surviving. You shouldn't have to survive. You shouldn't have to survive life. You should be able to live life. And that's the biggest difference, to know what's going on in your life. Is, a therapist said to me, she said to me, how could you end a life you've not really lived? And I said, I'm living. What do you mean? She goes, you're not living, you're surviving, love. I was like, OMG, like, if I'm surviving, how can I end a life then? Let me try living life and see how it feels like. Then if I don't like it, I'll try to end my life. Literally, this is what I said. Came to Manchester, started living life, and I was like, wow, wow, when you start living life, it's such a beautiful feeling. Oh my God, I can't explain that feeling to you. You think to yourself, wow, you can actually feel the difference. Like my skin got clearer, like genuinely my health got better. Everything felt better. My mental health improved so much and stuff. And then when I go back to London, that trauma starts all over again. And I can't escape it because as much as I wish I could, my family are important to me, and I think their behaviors are sometimes a reflection of their own trauma. And the way I deal with it is, right, I go in with the mentality with, I can't control how they react or what they will do, but I can control how I react. So whenever they have their moments, I can't control that. I can't control their anger, but I can control how I choose to feel about it or I choose to react to it. I don't fight anger with anger. I don't fight sadness with sadness. If they're sad and angry, I'm not going to be angry as well. I'm not going to be sad. I'm going to let them have their moment and I'm going to be patient. After they've had their moment, I'll just kindly say to them, you've had your moment. This is how it's made me feel. That's it. Because they people should know how they're making you feel. Even if they're going through a lot themselves, people should know how they make you feel, and stuff. But in conclusion, I don't fight anger with anger. So I don't fight their anger with anger, being angry back. So if they're being rude and angry to me, I don't fight it being angry or rude back to them. I just be patient and I give back love. I just show them love, more love. Every time they're angry at me, I show them more love. Every time they're angry at each other, I tell them show love to each other. Watch when you show love, you'll be able to handle everything that comes through. 2 months ago, my granddad died, and he was my hero, and he was the blessing in our family. He was he was the guy that like loved the idea of love in the family, and it was his teaching that made me into understanding what actually love is. Because he could have a whole family around him arguing, but he will show love back. He won't be angry with you, and yeah, it's his teachings that I think realized that when you can't escape trauma, when you can't escape a difficult family life, what you can do instead is you show love as much as you can. Obviously, if you're in danger or need help, you can ring the police. There's support services out there. But if it's something as if like it's bad but not bad enough for you to leave, try fight it with love. Try fight it without being angry, because it's anger that leads to things that we regret ever saying and stuff. But yeah, that's how I handle it. Because the truth is, like, in Manchester, life is so beautiful. I go back to London, I'm a bit like, oh, this is what actual reality is. But it doesn't affect me anymore. That's the truth, Fatima. Like, before, when I was in London, I'd be struggling with it so bad. When I go back now, nothing could happen in that household to make me go back to my mental health like it was back in the days. Nothing will ever cause me to go ever back there, because I've just changed my outlook. I just realized that these people are going through a lot. They need a fresh start like I did, and maybe their life might improve for them. But it's not my responsibility to give them therapy. That's their own responsibility.
Alhamdulillah, the way I look at it is like you've done so much healing and you've grown so much, and I think that time that you've spent in Manchester has allowed you to heal and grow. So now that when you've come back, it's not impacted you. It's so funny because something that I've been studying recently, like you see it on the internet a lot, like about feminine energy and whatnot, but something that I've been looking into it, and things like, I feel like when you were here in London and stuff, how you mentioned surviving, you were in survival mode. And you see, like, when your body is in survival mode, it's just trying to survive. So certain functions in your body shut down, because in your head, it's like, there's a bear chasing you. So things like, like how your pupils will always widen, or your diet, like your digestive system, all these things, like it shuts down because you're trying to survive. So it's trying to help you so that your body can use energy for other things. And so when you took the time to heal and actually live, your body was no longer in survival mode. And what they say is like, when you are in your feminine, it's that you feel safe, you feel rested in your body, and that bear was no longer behind you. Hence why you feel like like your skin got clearer and things. You felt a lot safe in your body, and I think that's a beautiful thing to see. And so when you came back to like home as well, you were able to see things from a different outlook because of that safety that you managed to find for yourself, the safety you managed to find in yourself, and the way you taught yourself that, life isn't about always surviving. Not everyone is out to get me, and I can live rather than survive if I want to. And I think that's a beautiful thing that you've created for yourself. So you should give yourself a pat on the back, and alhamdulillah, you've grown that much,
Thank you. Yeah. Feminine energy is real, and you're right about the bear chasing you. The bear doesn't chase me in Manchester. Actually, every like I have like such an amazing best friend, I have such an amazing group of friends that I just feel like I'm surrounded by love and positivity everywhere I go. And I'm not gonna lie, like my mental health isn't like perfect, but it is 100%. There's a difference between 100% and perfection. Nothing will ever be perfect in life. When you've been through trauma, you're gonna have your low days, and I have my fair share of low days, especially when it's rooted back in trauma. But I can say that my reaction to how I deal with everything has just changed and stuff. I have become the version of myself that in secondary school I said I wanted to become, hence why I changed myself. My dreams are starting to become true, and alhamdulillah for everything. I can only thank God, and I can only thank all the people in my life that were like positive influences. Like I'm still in contact with majority of my sixth form teachers. I bang on about sixth form is because I feel like secondary school grew me, like planted the seed, and sixth form grew me. That's literally how I see it. Is they don't probably don't know each other as institutions, even though like secondary banged on about me going to that sixth form. They're like, you're gonna go to that sixth form. They sent me there, and then my sixth form planted me, and I'm in contact with majority of my teachers at sixth form still, because without them I wouldn't be this person today. And I do feel like where recognition is due and where appreciation is due, I will continue to show it and stuff. Because when you become successful in life, you don't become ignorant. I'm not going to become ignorant. I'm not going to act like I did all the work on my own. No, I didn't do all the work on my own. Yes, I had a major part to play in it, but all those seeds, all the nutrients that watered me, they're the reason why I became the flower that grew without water, right? Like I've always described myself as the flower that grew without water, but actually in reality is I've now become the flower that grew because of an amazing institution like my sixth form, like the secondary school that I went to. They all came together and they helped me grow, and now I'm hopefully become an inspiration to the people that went through trauma, especially young women. I know from secondary school I was very much a feminist, right? I was an activist, I was an advocate. Like we had a girls' club in secondary school, I think, and I was like an active member of that and stuff, because inspiring young women is such an important thing to me. Because especially I didn't have any role models like as a child and stuff. So yeah.
Aw. So this podcast is all about kind of inspiring girls to be able to step into the woman that they want to become and achieve their dream selves. And so what advice would you give to the girls to take as a first step? Like what should be their first step in terms of changing their lives? Because obviously you have transformed your life for the better. So for a girl that's out there thinking, okay, I want to change my life, what's the first thing that she should do?
Knowing why she wants to change her life. Knowing why is the first step. If you ask yourself, why do I want to do this? That's the first step. The simple answer is literally knowing why. I knew why. I didn't want to become a statistic. I also didn't want my abuse and my childhood to become my story. Don't want that. I want a different ending. And stuff. Knowing why is important. Like I told that to my sister. Like I said to her, like, do you know why you want your life to change? Do you understand why? And she's like, no. And I said, then you can't change, can you? First find out why you want to do it. Everything will come into place once you know the why.
Yeah, that's actually, and I actually hear that a lot as well. Everyone always says, know your why, know your why, know your why. And I think I've always kind of had an idea of where I wanted to be from before, but I never really and truly understood my why. Like, I feel like it was always here and there and not really knowing why it is that I wanted the things that I wanted to do and how it made me feel. Like, I feel like another thing when knowing your why is thinking about how does it make you feel? If you want to do this thing, do you actually feel good doing it? Sometimes it can be like borderline, you borderline like it, but I'm talking about, does it feel like a light? Does it light you up? Does it make you feel like, yes, this is the thing that I wanted to do? And now I feel a lot more closer to like understanding that this is my why. This is why I want to do the things that I want to do. I feel like that's very important for people to understand. Just proper take time with yourself in solitude and whatever and reflect, like, why is it that I want to do this? And maybe you might find that that's not necessarily the thing that you want to do, do you know?
Yeah, you're completely correct.
But we're gonna wrap it up now, but if there is one message that you want to give to all the girls out there today that you want them to take away from this episode, what would that message be?
The message I would give is don't stop trying. If life is full of darkness and rain at the moment, there will be a rainbow. Because in order to see a rainbow, you do need a lot of rain. And just remember, with every rain, God willing, it will be replaced with every little abundance of joy one day. and there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Like, I know it's a cliche line, but there literally is. I'm living example that even when you think there's darkness around you, there will never change. That darkness will be replaced with something more beautiful than you'd ever imagine, and stuff. And keep remembering your whys. Keep reminding yourself of all the things that give you hope. Reminding yourself of all the things that motivate you to keep going, and don't become ignorant in success. Keep appreciating all the people that are out there that led to your journey. Even if there's no one out there, you celebrate yourself and stuff. And keep being your own inspiration. And yeah, last word, yeah. Write your own ending. Don't let other people write your ending.
That was actually amazing. I loved that. Thank you so much, Laiba, for being here. Where can we find you? Is there any projects or anything that you're working on that you want us to know about?
Well, I'm going to start a new job working with a women's empowerment charity who provide mentoring support to young women who struggle to go to university. It's called Her Path to Purpose, and I'll soon be working with them, and stuff. But you can find me on LinkedIn. My DMs are always open to provide you with volunteering support, or like places how to find like placement opportunities, unpaid and paid opportunities and stuff. But yeah, I use LinkedIn to share my journey. So find me on LinkedIn. It's just Laiba Waseem.
Okay, Laiba Waseem, I'll put it in the description. Thank you so much, Laiba. It's been an amazing episode and a lovely conversation. You've honestly inspired me so much, and I hope that you've inspired all the girls out there too. It was lovely having you.
Thank you so much for having me.